The conference hall gleamed with wealth. Crystal chandeliers caught light from floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Seattle, refracting it across marble floors that Marcus Hayes had been polishing since for that morning. His knees ached. The industrial buffer hummed in his calloused hands, its vibration traveling up his forearms as he worked methodical circles across the stone. Footsteps approached. Expensive heels clicking precise rhythm against the surface he'd just cleaned. Marcus didn't look up. He'd learned not to make eye contact with the people who hosted events in the Meridian Tower. Learned it the hard way, through cold stares and impatient sighs. The footsteps stopped. A shadow fell across his work. "Excuse me." The voice carried authority wrapped in impatience. "You're blocking the entrance." Marcus straightened slowly, vertebrae protesting after 3 hours hunched over the buffer. He found himself looking at a woman in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Her dark hair was pulled back severe and perfect. Her eyes swept over him once, cataloging and dismissing in the same glance. "Sorry, almost finished here." He moved the buffer aside, stepping back to give her space. She didn't move. Behind her, a man in an equally expensive suit appeared, phone pressed to his ear. He glanced at Marcus, then at the woman with something like amusement pulling at his mouth. "Catherine," the man said, ending his call. "Is maintenance giving you trouble?" Catherine. Marcus recognized her now. Catherine Westbrook. Her face had been on the cover of Forbes last month. CEO of Westbrook Technologies, youngest woman to take a company from startup to billion-dollar valuation in under 5 years. The event tonight was her company's annual Investor Gala. "No trouble, James." Her voice stayed cool. "Though I do wonder about the timing of maintenance work right before a major event." James laughed. The sound echoed off the marble. "That's what happens when you hire the cheapest services, darling. You get what you pay for." Marcus felt heat crawl up his neck. He kept his expression neutral, professional. "Building management scheduled the cleaning. I'll be done in 5 minutes." Catherine's eyes narrowed. She studied him more carefully now, taking in the faded blue uniform, the worn work boots, the gray creeping into his temples despite him being barely 36. Her gaze snagged on something. His hands. Marcus realized too late that she was looking at the pale band of skin on his ring finger where his wedding band used to sit. "You married?" she asked. The question caught him off guard. "Widower." "Children?" "A daughter, Emma. She's 7. James snorted. "Christ, Catherine. Why the interrogation? Let the man work." But Catherine wasn't looking at James. She was still studying Marcus with an expression he couldn't quite read. Then something shifted in her face. Hardened. "How old are you?" she asked. 36. "And you're a janitor." It wasn't a question. Marcus felt the judgment in those 4 words, the assessment of his worth based on the mop bucket beside him and the industrial cleaner staining his fingernails. "I'm a maintenance technician." "Right." She turned to James. "We should check the sound system before guests arrive." James lingered a moment, that amused smile still playing at his lips. He looked at Marcus the way someone might look at a stray dog. Pity mixed with mild disgust. "Must be tough," James said. "Raising a kid on janitor wages." "What happened? Bad decisions? Drugs? Gambling?" The words hit like physical blows. Marcus's jaw tightened. He thought about Emma at her after-school program right now, probably drawing another picture for him to hang on their refrigerator. Thought about the scholarship application he'd stayed up until 2 a.m. helping her work on last night because she was gifted, truly gifted, and deserved every opportunity he could fight to give her. "Just life, sir," Marcus said quietly. Catherine had paused at James's words. For a heartbeat, something flickered across her face. Then it vanished behind professional coldness. "James, come on. We don't have time for this." They walked away. Marcus heard James say something he couldn't quite catch, followed by Catherine's laugh. Sharp and bright, cutting through the vast space. Marcus returned to his buffer. His hands trembled slightly as he guided it across the marble. He focused on the work, on the pattern, on getting through the next hour so he could clock out and pick up Emma. She had a science fair project due next week. Something about plant growth and light wavelengths. She'd been so excited explaining it to him last night, her small hands animated, her mother's eyes shining with curiosity and intelligence. Sarah's eyes. Marcus shut down that thought before it could take root. 5 years since the cancer had taken her, and it still felt like yesterday sometimes. Still felt like the world had split open and swallowed the light. He'd been Dr. Marcus Hayes then, trauma surgeon at Seattle Grace Hospital. One of the youngest to complete his fellowship in emergency medicine. He'd had papers published in medical journals. Had been offered positions at prestigious hospitals across the country. Had a future so bright it hurt to look at directly. Then Sarah got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 18 months from diagnosis to death, and Marcus had spent every moment he could by her side. He'd burned through his savings on experimental treatments insurance wouldn't cover. Taken family leave that stretched into resignation. Let his medical license lapse because he couldn't maintain the continuing education requirements while caring for his dying wife and terrified 5-year-old daughter. ***, where are you watching this story unfold from? Drop your location in the comments below. ***. When Sarah died, Marcus had 2 choices. He could claw his way back into medicine, reapply for licensing, find a residency program that would take him, rebuild everything from scratch while leaving Emma in daycare 12 hours a day. Or he could be present for his daughter during the years she'd need him most. It hadn't really been a choice at all. So Dr. Marcus Hayes became Marcus Hayes, maintenance technician. He took the job because it paid enough to keep them in their small apartment. Because the hours were stable enough that he could pick Emma up from school most days. Because it required his hands and his back, not his mind, which meant he could spend his mental energy on her homework and her questions and her grief. He'd made peace with it. Mostly. But standing in this glittering hall, the ghost of Catherine Westbrook's judgment still hanging in the air like expensive perfume, Marcus felt the old ache. Not for the prestige or the money. For the purpose. For the moment when a patient's vitals stabilized under his hands, when quick thinking and precise action meant the difference between death and life. He finished the floors. Packed up his equipment. Checked his watch. Another 2 hours of work, then he could leave. Marcus didn't see Catherine Westbrook again that day. Didn't see the way she paused outside the conference hall later, her hand on the doorframe, something troubled working behind her carefully composed expression. Didn't see her instruct her assistant to pull the building's maintenance records, find out more about the quiet man with the careful hands and the widower's tan line. The gala was in full swing when the lights flickered. Marcus was 3 floors down in the mechanical room, running diagnostics on the fax system that had been making concerning noises all week. The building's ancient climate control was his perpetual headache, held together with duct tape and prayers, and his own stubborn refusal to let anything break on his watch. The radio on his belt crackled. "Hayes, we need you in the main ballroom. Now." Marcus recognized Jerry's voice, the head of building security. The edge in it made him move fast. He grabbed his toolkit and took the stairs 2 at a time. The ballroom was chaos. 300 guests an evening were clustered near the exits while hotel staff tried to maintain calm. The lights had stabilized, but Marcus could hear the problem immediately. The vac system was screaming, a high-pitched mechanical shriek that meant something was catastrophically wrong. Jerry found him. "We've got a woman collapsed near the stage. Possible heart attack. Paramedics are stuck in traffic. Some protest blocking 5th Avenue. Marcus's instincts kicked in before conscious thought. "Where?" Jerry led him through the crowd. Catherine Westbrook was on the floor, her husband kneeling beside her. Her face had gone gray. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. One hand clutched at her chest. James looked up as Marcus approached, his usual smugness replaced by panic. "She just collapsed," said. Her chest hurt, then went down. "Where's the ambulance?" Marcus was already dropping to his knees, his toolkit forgotten. His hands went to Catherine's wrist, finding her pulse. Rapid, thready, irregular. Her skin was clammy. He checked her pupils. Unequal response. Can you hear me, Catherine?" Her eyes fluttered. Tried to focus on him. Recognition sparked, then confusion. The janitor was touching her, speaking with authority. "Chest pain?" Marcus asked. His voice had shifted. Became something different. Command wrapped in calm. She nodded. "Barely. Left side?" radiating to your arm or jaw. Another nod. Marcus looked at James. What medications is she on? I don't know. Blood pressure something. She never tells me. Does she have a cardiologist? Any history of heart problems? Her mother died of a heart attack at 43, James said. Catherine's been under stress. The company, the expansion. Marcus was already making decisions. He turned to Jerry. I need aspirin. Immediately. Someone get me ice and water. Call 911 again. Tell them we have a possible MI in a 39-year-old female with family history. Tell them time is critical. Jerry stared at him. How do you? Now, Jerry. The authority in Marcus's voice cut through the security guard's confusion. Jerry ran. Marcus loosened Catherine's collar, checking her airway. Catherine, listen to me. You're having a cardiac event. Possible heart attack. I need you to stay calm. Slow your breathing if you can. Help is coming. Who? Her voice was barely a whisper. Who are you? Someone who's going to keep you alive until the paramedics get here. James grabbed Marcus's shoulder. What are you doing? You're a janitor, you can't. Marcus shrugged off the grip without looking away from Catherine. Your wife is having a myocardial infarction. Every minute of delay increases the damage to her heart muscle. I can stabilize her, or you can wait for the ambulance. Choose now. Something in Marcus's tone, the absolute certainty, the clinical precision, made James step back. Jerry returned with aspirin and a woman carrying ice. Marcus had Catherine chew the aspirin despite her protest. Elevated her legs slightly. Applied ice to her wrists and neck to help slow her racing heart. All the while, he monitored her pulse, her breathing, her level of consciousness. Talk to me, Catherine. Tell me about your company. What you're working on. Why? She struggled to speak. Because I need you conscious, and I need you calm. So talk. That's an order. A ghost of irritation flickered across her gray face. Even dying, she didn't like being told what to do. AI integration. Healthcare systems. Predictive diagnostics. Good. Keep going. How does it work? She talked. Haltingly at first, then with more strength as Marcus's calm competence seemed to anchor her. He kept his fingers on her pulse, kept his eyes on her face, noting every change in color, every shift in breathing pattern. Around them, the crowd had gone silent. People were recording on their phones. Someone was live streaming. The paramedics arrived 12 minutes after Marcus had knelt beside Catherine. They came in fast, efficient, professional. The lead paramedic took one look at the scene. Catherine stable and conscious, ice pack strategically placed, Marcus's fingers still on her pulse, and said, "What have we got?" Marcus rattled off vitals, timeline, interventions. Used medical terminology with casual fluency. The paramedics exchanged glances. "You a doctor?" one asked as they transferred Catherine to the gurney. Marcus hesitated. "I was. Long time ago." Catherine's eyes found his as they lifted her. She tried to speak, but the oxygen mask muffled her words. The paramedics wheeled her out, James following, his face shell-shocked. Marcus stood slowly. His knees protested. He became aware of the silence in the ballroom, of hundreds of eyes on him. A phone still recording. Jerry approached. "Hayes. What the hell was that?" "That was keeping someone alive until professional help arrived," Marcus said quietly. He picked up his toolkit. "I should check on that vac system." He walked away before Jerry could ask more questions. But he felt the stares following him. Heard the whispers starting like wildfire. *** if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss what happens next. Share this with someone who loves a powerful story, and check the description for more tales that will move you. ***. By the time Marcus made it back to the mechanical room, his phone was buzzing. Text messages from co-workers he barely knew. The building's group chat exploding with speculation. Someone had already posted video to social media. Marcus in his faded uniform, hands steady and sure on Catherine Westbrook's wrist, his voice calm and authoritative as he issued orders to people who made 10 times his salary. The caption read, "Janitor saves CEO's life at Gala." Who is this man? Marcus silenced his phone. He had 2 more hours on his shift, then he needed to pick up Emma. She had ballet practice tomorrow morning, and he'd promised her pancakes for breakfast. That was what mattered. Not the videos or the whispers or the way people were already searching for answers about the maintenance man who'd moved like a trauma surgeon. But Catherine Westbrook's assistant was already on her laptop at the hospital, running searches between updates on her boss's condition. Catherine herself, stabilized in the cardiac unit, had whispered 3 words before the sedatives took her under: find out everything. The video went viral overnight. By morning, Marcus had 37 missed calls and his face was on the local news. Heroic Janitor Saves Tech CEO's Life ran the headline, accompanied by screenshots from the ballroom footage. Someone had started a crowdfunding campaign without his permission, claiming he deserved recognition and financial support. It had already raised $20,000. Marcus turned off the television and made Emma her promised pancakes. "Daddy, you're famous," Emma said, scrolling through her tablet at the breakfast table. She was supposed to be reviewing her spelling words. "I'm not famous, sunshine. I just helped someone who needed help." Mrs. Peterson showed the video to our whole class yesterday. "She said you were a hero." Emma's voice carried pride that made Marcus's chest tight. "Tyler Martinez said his mom said you must have been a doctor or something before. Were you?" Marcus flipped a pancake. Buying time. He'd never hidden his past from Emma, but he'd never emphasized it either. She knew Mommy had been sick, that Daddy had taken care of her, that they'd lost her anyway. She knew they'd moved to a smaller apartment, that things had changed. But she'd been so young. The details hadn't seemed important. "I was a surgeon," he said finally. "Before you were born, and a little bit after. But then Mommy got sick, and being a doctor meant I couldn't be with her, or with you as much as you needed. So I made a choice." Emma considered this seriously, her small face scrunched in thought. She had Sarah's expressions, her thoughtful pauses before speaking. "Do you miss it?" Marcus brought her pancakes to the table, settling into the chair across from her. "Sometimes. But I'd make the same choice again every time. You and Mommy were more important than any job. Even if the job was saving people. Even then. Because you're my people, sunshine. The most important ones." Emma smiled, satisfied with this answer. She drowned her pancakes in syrup the way she always did, creating a sticky lake that Marcus would pretend to disapprove of while secretly finding adorable. His phone buzzed. Another text. Marcus glanced at it, then froze. Catherine Westbrook's assistant, requesting his presence at the hospital. Catherine wanted to thank him personally. The message included a private room number and a note that all visitors had been cleared with hospital security. Marcus deleted the message. He had to get Emma to school, then get to work himself. Whatever Catherine Westbrook wanted, it could wait. Except it couldn't. Marcus arrived at the Meridian Tower to find Jerry waiting by his time clock. The security guard's expression was unreadable. "Building manager wants to see you," Jerry said. "Conference room on 12. "Did I do something wrong?" "Just go, Hayes." The conference room overlooked the Seattle skyline. Rain streaked the windows, turning the city gray and silver. Marcus found not just the building manager, but the property owner, the head of facility services, and a woman in a Navy suit who introduced herself as legal counsel. "Mr. Hayes," the building manager began, "we've been reviewing your employment file." Marcus's stomach dropped. "Okay. You never disclosed your medical background on your application. You never asked. The application asked about relevant maintenance experience. I had some from helping my father-in-law with his apartment building. That's what I listed." The lawyer leaned forward. "Dr. Hayes." "Just Marcus Hayes," he interrupted. "My license lapsed years ago. I'm not a physician." "But you practiced medicine last night," the lawyer said. "Without a current license, that could be construed as saving someone's life," Marcus finished, while waiting for actual medical professionals to arrive. Good Samaritan laws protect people who render emergency aid. I didn't perform surgery or prescribe medication. I provided basic stabilization using first aid techniques anyone with CPR certification could have done. The property owner, a man in his 60s who Marcus had seen exactly twice in 4 years, spoke up. Catherine Westbrook has offered to fund a full restoration of your medical license. She's also offering you a position as Chief Medical Consultant for Westbrook Technologies. Marcus blinked. What? Her assistant called this morning. Apparently Mrs. Westbrook was very impressed by your actions. She wants to meet with you to discuss details. I have a job, Marcus said slowly. Hey, I'm not interested in charity or guilt-motivated job offers. This isn't charity, the lawyer said. Ms. Westbrook is expanding into healthcare AI. She needs someone with real medical experience to consult on the technology development. Someone who understands both the clinical realities and the human element. She has a whole board of doctors advising her. I've seen the press releases. She wants you specifically. Marcus stood. Tell Ms. Westbrook I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested. Now if we're done here, I have work to do. He made it to the door before the building manager spoke again. There's a news crew downstairs, Hayes, and about 50 reporters waiting outside. Someone leaked your name and employment information. They want the full story. Marcus closed his eyes. Of course they did. He went downstairs anyway, hoping to slip out a side entrance. But cameras were there too, and someone shouted his name. Then everyone was shouting. Microphones appeared. Questions flew like projectiles. Dr. Hayes, why are you working as a janitor? Is it true you let your medical license expire? What happened to make you give up medicine? How does it feel to be a hero? Marcus kept walking, head down, pushing through the crowd. A van pulled up to the cab. Jerry appeared from somewhere, creating a barrier between Marcus and the reporters. The van's door opened. Get in, Catherine Westbrook's assistant called from inside. Marcus hesitated. Another camera flashed. Someone grabbed at his sleeve. He climbed into the van. Inside, Catherine Westbrook sat in a wheelchair despite what appeared to be full mobility. She wore a hospital gown under an expensive robe. Her husband was nowhere in sight. Drive, she told her assistant. Then to Marcus, you wouldn't return my messages. I've been busy. Being harassed by media because I didn't think about how saving my life would affect your privacy. Her voice was quieter than he'd heard before. Tired. Human. I'm sorry. That's actually why I'm here. To apologize, and to fix this if I can. ***, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this story with friends who appreciate powerful transformations, and visit the description for more stories that will touch your heart. ***. Marcus studied her. She looked younger somehow, stripped of her boardroom armor. More vulnerable. How are you feeling? He asked. Like I had a heart attack 12 hours ago. Which I did. She gestured to her chest. They put in a stent. Mild myocardial infarction. The cardiologist said if you hadn't kept me calm and stable, it could have been catastrophic. The paramedics would have arrived eventually. Eventually being the key word. You bought me time I didn't have. She paused. Why didn't you tell anyone about being a doctor? Marcus watched rain streak across the window. They were heading downtown, away from the media circus. Because I'm not a doctor anymore. I'm a father who made a choice. That's all. That's not all. Catherine's voice hardened with certainty. I had my assistant research you. Dr. Marcus Hayes. Graduated top of your class from Stanford Medical. Trauma Surgery Fellowship at Johns Hopkins. 3 years at Seattle Grace with an impressive surgical record. Published papers on emergency intervention techniques. Then you disappeared. My wife died. The words hung in the air. Catherine's expression shifted. I'm sorry, she said quietly. The articles didn't mention that part. They wouldn't. I kept her illness private. We had a young daughter. Sarah wanted to protect her from public pity. So you gave up everything to take care of them. I gave up a career to prioritize my family. People do it every day. Usually women. So nobody writes articles about it. Catherine flinched. The observation had struck something true. The van pulled up to an unfamiliar building. Modern, glass and steel, with a discreet entrance. Where are we? Marcus asked. Emergency board meeting. For my company. Catherine met his eyes. I want you there. Why? Because I'm about to announce my medical leave and a restructuring of our healthcare division. And because seeing you, the man who saved my life despite everything I said to you, is going to remind everyone in that room that innovation means nothing without humanity." Marcus shook his head. "I can't. I have to pick up my daughter in 3 hours. Then bring her. My assistant will arrange it." "You don't understand. I don't want this. The attention, the scrutiny, the offers. I just want to do my job and raise my daughter." Catherine leaned forward, and Marcus saw something in her face he hadn't seen before. Desperation. Raw and honest. "Please," she said. "Not for me. For everyone else who might need you. You have a gift, Dr. Hayes. You can hide it cleaning floors if you want. But first, let me show you what it could do." The boardroom was cathedral quiet when they entered. 15 people in expensive suits turned as one to stare at Marcus in his maintenance uniform, pushing Catherine's wheelchair. Her assistant had retrieved her clothes from the hospital, but Catherine had refused to change, insisting on the wheelchair, on the hospital gown visible under her coat. Making a point. Marcus had asked. "Always," she'd replied. Now she raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. "Thank you all for coming on short notice. I want to introduce Dr. Marcus Hayes. He saved my life last night." James Westbrook sat at the far end of the table. He looked haggard, his usual polish dimmed by exhaustion and something that might have been shame. He didn't meet Marcus's eyes. Catherine continued, her voice stronger than Marcus expected from someone who'd had a heart attack 12 hours ago. "I called this meeting because I nearly died yesterday. Because my pursuit of success has taken priority over everything else, including my health, my marriage, and my basic humanity. That changes now." She laid out her plan. Immediate medical leave. James would assume interim CEO duties. The healthcare AI division would undergo complete restructuring under new ethical guidelines. And she was establishing a foundation, funded with $10 million of her personal wealth, to provide support for caregivers who'd sacrificed careers for family. "The Hayes Foundation," she said, looking directly at Marcus. "Whether he accepts my job offer or not." Marcus felt the room's attention shift to him. Curious. Judgmental. Impressed. He wanted to disappear through the floor. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. Catherine fielded questions with her usual precision, though Marcus noticed her hand trembling slightly as she gestured. Noticed her breathing quicken during heated exchanges. When someone questioned the foundation's purpose, she'd shut them down with icy efficiency. If you can't understand why supporting people who sacrifice everything for their loved ones is worthwhile, then you've never loved anything more than your own advancement. The words echoed. Several board members had the grace to look uncomfortable. When it ended, Catherine asked for the room. Everyone filed out, though James lingered near the door until Catherine's sharp glance sent him away too. Only Marcus and Catherine's assistant remained. The assistant placed a glass of water in front of Catherine, then quietly excused herself. Catherine's composure cracked the moment they were alone. Her hands started shaking first. Then her breath came too fast, hitching in her throat. She pressed her palms flat against the table like she was trying to ground herself to something solid. "Catherine." Marcus moved closer. "Do you need your medication?" She shook her head. Tears spilled down her cheeks, shocking in their suddenness. The woman who'd commanded a boardroom 30 seconds ago was dissolving in front of him. "I could have died." Her voice broke. "I could have died and left nothing but a company and a husband who barely knows me and money that means absolutely nothing." Marcus pulled a chair close, sitting so they were at eye level. "But you didn't die. Because you saved me. You, who I mocked, who I judged based on your uniform and your job and your—" She stopped, drew a shuddering breath. "I'm a horrible person." "You're a scared person," Marcus corrected gently. "There's a difference. How can you be kind to me? After what I said? After James?" Her face crumpled further. "He laughed at you. I laughed with him. You were on your knees cleaning floors so you could provide for your daughter, and we laughed." "Yes," Marcus said simply. "You did." The honesty seemed to hit her harder than comfort would have. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. "I grew up in a trailer park outside Tacoma," Catherine said after a long moment. Her voice was muffled, raw. Single mother, 4 kids, welfare and food stamps. I was the youngest. I watched my mother work 3 jobs and still not have enough. Watched her beg for extensions on bills. So the way people looked at us. Like we were trash. Like we deserved poverty. She lowered her hands, meeting Marcus's eyes. His were red-rimmed, devastated. I swore I'd never be powerless like that again. Never be looked down on. So I clawed my way out. Scholarships, student loans, 18-hour days. I built this company from nothing because I was terrified of having nothing. And somewhere along the way, I became the person who looks down on others, who judges worth by wealth. You became what you feared, Marcus said. I became what hurt me. She wiped at her eyes. My mother died 2 years ago. Heart attack. Just like yesterday. She was only 63. I was in Tokyo for a conference. I didn't make it back in time. She died alone in a hospital because I was chasing another deal, another achievement, another wall to put between me and that trailer park. The grief in her voice was a physical presence in the room. I'm sorry, Marcus said. And meant it. ***, if you're feeling the emotion of this moment, show some love with a like, leave your reaction in the comments, subscribe for more incredible stories, share this with someone who needs to see it, and explore the description for similar tales of redemption and love. You lost your wife, Catherine said. How did you do it? How did you survive that, and still have kindness left? Still have the capacity to save someone who'd been cruel to you? Marcus considered the question. Outside the boardroom windows, Seattle's skyline stretched toward gray clouds. I made a choice, he said finally. Sarah was dying, and I could either become bitter about the unfairness of it, or I could cherish every moment we had left. I chose cherishing. Then after she was gone, I could either drown in grief and anger, or I could honor her by being the father Emma needed. I chose Emma. But you gave up everything. Your career, your future. I gave up a career path. I didn't give up purpose. Emma is my purpose. Being present for her, watching her grow, making sure she knows she's loved no matter what happens, that's worth more than any surgery I could have performed. Catherine was silent for a long moment. Then, James wants a divorce. He told me this morning. Said I'm married to my company, not to him. Said is tired of being an accessory to my success. Are you surprised? No. She laughed, hollow and hurt. I'm not. We've been strangers for years. I just thought we were both okay with that arrangement. Turns out he wasn't. Are you okay with it? I don't know. I don't know what being okay feels like anymore. She met Marcus's eyes again. Teach me. What? Teach me how to be human again. How to see people as people, not as assets or threats or rungs on a ladder. How to, her voice cracked. How to matter for something other than my bank account. Marcus felt the weight of her request. Saw the desperation behind it, the real terror that she'd built a life that looked successful from the outside but was hollow at its core. I can't teach you that, he said. But I can tell you where to start. Where? Emma has a science fair next week. She's been working on a project about photosynthesis. She's nervous about presenting it. If you want to learn how to be human, come watch a 7-year-old explain plant biology with more passion than most CEOs have for their entire companies. Catherine stared at him. You're serious? Completely. You want to understand what matters? Spend time with someone who hasn't learned to perform yet, who gets excited about small things, who measures worth by whether someone is kind, not whether they are successful. I don't know anything about children. Neither did I. Until I had one. You learn. Marcus stood. Think about it. The fair is Thursday at 6 p.m. Roosevelt Elementary. I'll put your name on the guest list if you want to come. He started toward the door. Catherine's voice stopped him. Marcus. She was crying again, but softer now. Thank you. For saving my life. For not hating me. For seeing something worth saving. Everyone is worth saving, Marcus said. You just have to remember that includes yourself. Catherine came to the science fair. She arrived early, alone, wearing jeans and a simple sweater that made her look younger and less armored. She found Marcus setting up Emma's display board, his daughter chattering nervously about where to position her plants. "Hi," Catherine said quietly. Emma turned, eyes widening. "You're the lady Daddy saved. You're on TV." "I am. And your dad did save me." Catherine knelt down, meeting Emma at eye level. "You must be very proud of him." "I am. But also he's just my dad, you know? He makes me pancakes and helps with homework and is not scary like TV says." Catherine glanced at Marcus, who shrugged. Apparently some news coverage had painted him as an intimidating figure, the mysterious doctor turned janitor with unknown motives. "He's not scary at all," Catherine agreed. "He's one of the kindest people I've ever met." Emma beamed. "Do you want to see my project? It's about how different light colors affect plant growth. I used LED lights and measured everything in a chart, and..." She launched into her explanation, unself-conscious and brilliant. Catherine listened with genuine attention, asking questions that showed real interest rather than polite performance. She touched the plants gently, examined Emma's handwritten notes, praised her scientific method. Marcus watched them, something warming in his chest. After the fair, Emma won second place, and was thrilled. Catherine asked if she could buy them dinner. They ended up at a diner near Marcus's apartment. Emma ordered chicken tenders and fell asleep in the booth halfway through, her head on Marcus's shoulder. "She's lovely," Catherine said, watching the sleeping child. "Smart and confident and kind. You've done an incredible job with her. She's Sarah's daughter as much as mine. All the best parts are from her mother." "I doubt that." Catherine traced patterns in the condensation on her water glass. "I've been thinking about what you said. About choices and purpose. I called my attorney. Filed divorce papers with James. We both agreed it was the honest thing to do." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's been over for years. We were just too busy to admit it." She smiled, sad but real. "I also promoted 2 women into leadership positions. Set up a childcare center in our headquarters. Made Fridays remote work days for anyone with family obligations." "That's good." "It's a start. I have a long way to go." She hesitated. "The foundation launch is next month. I'd like you to speak at it. Share your story. Help other caregivers know they are not alone." Marcus considered. "I'll think about it." Over the next 2 months, Catherine became a regular presence in their lives. She came to Emma's ballet recital, helped Marcus repaint their apartment, learned to make pancakes with far too much syrup. She brought Chinese takeout on weekends and stayed to watch animated movies, her phone silenced, her attention fully present. She worked reduced hours at Westbrook Technologies, delegated more, went to therapy twice a week, and actually did the homework her therapist assigned. She was learning, slowly, how to be a person outside of her achievements. Marcus watched her transform, saw her smile come easier, heard her laugh, really laugh, at Emma's knock-knock jokes. Noticed the way she'd touch his arm when making a point, how she'd catch his eye across a room like she was checking to make sure he was still there. He felt something shift in himself too. The careful walls he'd built around his grief were softening. He caught himself thinking about Catherine at odd moments, the way she bit her lip when concentrating, the fierce protectiveness that flared when anyone suggested Emma was too young for advanced science classes, the vulnerability she showed when she thought no one was watching. They never discussed what was happening between them. It felt too fragile, too new, like acknowledging it might break whatever was building in the spaces of their time together. Then Emma, with a 7-year-old's blunt wisdom, solved it for them. "Daddy, why don't you marry Catherine?" she asked one night at bedtime. Marcus fumbled the book he'd been reading. "What? Sunshine, that's not, we're just friends. But you smile at her the way you smile in pictures with Mommy. And she looks at you like you're the most important person. And she's nice and she likes science and she can almost make pancakes now." Emma considered. "Also she needs us. She's lonely. I can tell." Marcus set down the book. "Emma, it's not that simple." "Why not? You love her. She loves you. You make each other happy. Isn't that what marriage is?" Out of the mouths of babes. "Would you be okay with that?" Marcus asked carefully. "If Catherine became part of our family?" Emma nodded seriously. "Mommy would want you to be happy." She told me before she died. She said Daddy would be sad for a while, but someday he'd smile again, and that would be okay. That would be good. Marcus pulled his daughter close, his throat tight. When did you get so wise? I'm 7 3/4. That's basically 8. He told Catherine the next day. They were in his apartment's tiny kitchen, cooking dinner while Emma did homework at the table. Marcus repeated Emma's words, watching Catherine's face carefully. She stopped chopping vegetables, turned to face him fully. Marcus, she said, I need to tell you something. His heart kicked. Okay. I'm falling in love with you. I think I have been since the science fair, maybe before. Since you looked at me in that boardroom and didn't see a CEO or success story or even someone you'd saved. You just saw a person who was scared and hurting, and you met me there. She took a shaky breath. I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at relationships. I'm selfish and work-obsessed, and I have a lifetime of bad habits to unlearn. But I want to try. With you. With Emma. If you'll have me. Marcus set down his own knife, stepped close enough that he could see the uncertainty in her eyes, the hope she was trying to hide. I'm not looking for perfect, he said quietly. I'm looking for real. For someone who shows up. Who tries. Who loves my daughter and challenges me and makes me remember I'm more than just a father. I'm a man with dreams too. Is that me? Her voice barely whispered. Yeah, that's you. He kissed her, soft and careful, like something precious. She kissed him back with relief and joy and a promise of more. Emma made gagging noises from the table. Gross. But also finally. They laughed. Catherine pulled away just far enough to meet Marcus's eyes. I want to do this right. Court you properly. Meet your friends. Learn about your past. Build something that lasts. I'd like that. 3 months later, Catherine planned an elaborate surprise. She rented out the Meridian Tower Ballroom, the same room where Marcus had saved her life. Filled it with everyone who mattered, Emma's teachers, Marcus's co-workers, Catherine's employees, friends and family from both their lives. Marcus arrived thinking it was a fundraiser for the foundation. Found instead a room full of people he cared about, and Catherine in a blue dress, standing center stage with a microphone. A year ago, Catherine said, I stood in this room and mocked a man for being a janitor. I judged him, dismissed him, laughed at his expense. Her voice carried clearly, no tremor. Then I nearly died, and that same man saved my life. Not because I deserved it. Not because I'd earned it. But because he's fundamentally good in ways I'd forgotten people could be. She looked directly at Marcus. Marcus Hayes, you taught me that worth isn't measured in achievements. That success means nothing without humanity. That the greatest act of strength is choosing love over ambition, presence over prestige, people over power. She stepped down from the stage, crossing to where he stood frozen. You saved my life twice. Once medically. Once by showing me what life could be. Catherine took his hand. Then, to his shock, she knelt. You told Emma that someday you'd smile again. I want to spend the rest of my life being one of the reasons why. Will you marry me? The room erupted. Emma bounced on her toes, holding a ring box and grinning like she'd known all along. Marcus realized she probably had. He pulled Catherine to her feet. You're supposed to accept my proposal, not beat me to it. Were you planning to propose? I was waiting for the right moment. This seemed right. She smiled, vulnerable and hopeful. Is it? Marcus thought about the year behind them. The transformation they'd both undergone. The family they were building from grief and loneliness and unexpected connection. Thought about Sarah, who'd wanted him to find happiness again. About Emma, who deserved to see what healthy love looked like. About himself, finally ready to open his heart fully after years of protective distance. Yes, he said. It's perfect. And so are you. He kissed her to applause and cheers. Emma wriggled between them, demanding to be part of the hug. They stood there, the three of them, a family forged from loss and second chances. 2 years later, Marcus stood in the OR again. Not as a janitor, but as Dr. Hayes, his license restored, working part-time as a trauma consultant while maintaining his foundation work. Catherine had restructured her role at Westbrook Technologies, creating space for family and life beyond the office. They'd bought a house with a yard where Emma, now 9 and already interested in medical school, conducted increasingly elaborate science experiments. On their refrigerator hung Emma's drawings, the 3 of them, stick figures holding hands. Underneath, in her careful handwriting, "My family. All the important people." Marcus came home from a long surgery to find Catherine and Emma baking in the kitchen, flour everywhere, laughter filling the space. Catherine looked up, still not quite graceful with domestic tasks but trying, always trying. Emma ran to him with flour-covered hands, and he lifted her up despite her protests that she was too old for that. This was it. The life on the other side of loss. The happiness earned through pain and choice, and the courage to be vulnerable again. Catherine caught his eye over Emma's head, smiled at him the way she only smiled for him, soft and real and full of love that had grown from the most unlikely soil. He smiled back, finally, completely, whole.